All right, we're going to put the classwork down for a moment. Well, I want to teach you all the theory and the physics right now. That doesn't help you in the moment, at least not as much. So we're going to do a little bit of practical application. Today I'm going to cover a good stretching routine and how to properly throw a punch. This class isn't going to be as scripted as the last two have been, but here are the bullet points we're going to be going into. 1, we're going to be doing full body stretching. 2, how to make a fist. And 3, how to punch. And before we dive into this, I need to make sure anyone who intends on following along, please try and make sure you've got some water ready. I cannot stress enough how important staying hydrated is. And without further ado, we're going to dive into this. First, we're going to try and stretch our arms high up over our head. Try and loosen the muscles in your shoulders. Get your back starting to stretch. And on a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And down slowly and rotate them out. And stretch right arm over your body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And left arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now get those shoulders nice and loose. And now we're going to work on stretching our back and our neck. So put your hands on your hips, get your feet roughly about twice as wide as your shoulders. Stance is important here. And you're going to stretch our right arm as far over as we can and tilt our neck. And just stretch it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and slowly back. And then the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly back. And rotate your neck. All round big circles. And switch direction. Want to make sure you're stretching it in both directions. Rotate your head to the side. And now we're going to try and bend our back forward and then backwards a little bit. So reach down, keeping your feet wide, and just try and grasp your ankles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you should feel some stretching in the back of your knees and in your back, and if you're unlucky, possibly in your neck. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure on that neck part, but I'm feeling some stretching there. And then we're going to try and open our stance back up and lean back some. You don't need to lean back far, and if at any point anything hurts, stop what you're doing and reassess. Just twist it out. And now we're going to start working on our legs, stretching those out. Take one knee, and if you need to balance on something, feel free. But take one knee and try and pull it up to your chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to rotate my ankle in the other direction. Try and get those loosened up at the same time. Slowly back down. other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and other direction with that ankle. And slowly back down. And there are a number of other stretches we should do on the floor. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get a good camera angle from here. Give me a second. Can I tilt my camera enough? I can. Cool. All right. Sit down, and if you're wearing socks and it's making you slip around whatsoever, go ahead and just take them off. And now we're going to put the soles of our feet together, clasp them together, and just sort of stretch. And you're trying to stretch your hips here. And just put some gentle pressure on your knees. If it hurts at any point, again, please stop. And don't forget to be drinking your water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly bring them up. And we're going to put the left leg straight in front of us. And using our right arm, we're going to try and grab our toes. And if you can't grab your toes, just try and make sure, most importantly, that your knee is straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly back up. Slowly lift that leg. Back to this position. And I'm going to call it the butterfly position. You can flap your legs if you want. I do, mostly because it's absent motion, and now we're going to move back out to the other leg. And again, cross. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly back up into butterfly position. Get a good stretch in. Now put both legs straight in front of you. And now you're going to just reach forward as far as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you should really be feeling some pull in the back of your knees. You're trying to loosen everything up. And you're doing this before you do anything too particularly vigorous. All right, I'm going to come in close for the next part of this class is how to properly make a fist with your hand. You're going to take your open hand and in 3 steps. 1, curl your fingers. 2, curl them all the way back. And 3, hook your thumb over the top. Again, 1, 2, 3. And you want to make sure it's a nice tight ball. And when you're striking, you're trying to hit with the knuckles here and here. Your first finger and your second finger. The reason why you're aiming with these 2 is because they line up most readily with the rest of the bones in your arm. You're trying to strike in a way that's going to cause as little damage to you, but you're also trying to cause as much damage to your opponent as you can. So, again, we're just practicing here. If you can't throw a perfect punch in the heat of the moment, don't worry. Anything you can do is better than nothing. You're just trying to defend yourself. So make those fists and get into a comfortable stance. I put one foot forward, put a little bit of bend in this knee, and the foot is pointing straight forward with the rest of my body. The back leg is just straight out, and my foot is at an angle to my body, roughly about 45 degrees, 30 to 45 degrees. It's not important. The important part here is making sure your stance is stable, that your feet aren't shifting around on you, and that you are as rock solid as you can get. If you're working out with someone else, have someone like push on your shoulders or just try and jostle you from the front to try and test your stance, and you'll learn how to keep your center of gravity low and how to keep your stance stable. And you're going to take those fists and you're going to keep them out, and then you're going to punch with the right fist roughly at about throat level. 1. And when you're throwing your punch, you're taking your fist and you're rotating it. You're like a corkscrew. You want it to spin, and just as it impacts someone, you want to impart as much force into this punch as you possibly can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're noticing with my other fist, I'm putting it down at my hip. This was called chambering back when I took Taekwondo. And it's to ready your next punch if you need it. Because it's a lot easier to throw a punch that's already locked and loaded. And from the side, I'm going to vary my stance a little bit so you can see me just fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is something you're going to need to practice a lot. And if you're practicing and you want to move around, you can just move your stance. I'm going to start from here and then forward and forward, back and back. I really don't have a whole lot of room to move around right now, so I'm doing what I can. But you don't have to punch fast, you just have to practice the motion. You're trying to make this into a muscle memory. And again, I'm going to be able to do this a little closer, but I'm down on my knees. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And one thing that I do want to stress, beyond the make sure you're drinking water part, you need to practice. Everything that you're going to need to use in the heat of the moment, your body needs to be prepared for it. If you're going to be punching and kicking, you need to practice punching and kicking. Your instincts are only as sharp as you're going to let them be, as sharp as you make them. And to that end, I'm going to do a couple more punches. I'm going to vary my stance a little bit. I'll probably do a video on stances down the line before we get into kicks. But for now, instead of doing that forward stance, you can just get your feet wide. Just drop yourself down. You're lowering your center of gravity, your center of mass. Your knees are bent, your feet should be roughly pointed in the same direction as the rest of your body, but you're just looking for stable. And again, if you've got someone to test your stances, just have them push you. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then just get yourself out of your stance and just keep stretching out. If there are any comments or questions that you'd like answered, feel free to leave them in the comments. For now, I am going to wrap this one up, and I hope that someone finds this helpful. Here's to hoping 2021 is better.